On the news, the United States plans to spend 587 billion naira in Nigeria to strengthen security operations. The Federal High Court in Abuja said to consider ADC and 4 other political parties for alleged constitutional and electoral infractions. 281 suspected street urchins have been arrested by the Lagos State Task Force. In addition, we have the exchange rates and weather report. He will be here in just a moment for the details of the news.
Welcome to the news on the hour on Providence Television International. I am Eriki Ogieraki. The United States plans to spend 587 billion naira on counter-insurgency operations in Nigeria and other African countries in 2026 amid worsening security conditions across West Africa. The security budget for the U.S. Africa comes against the backdrop of the Christmas Day attacks on terrorist hideouts in Sokoto State by the Donald Trump administration. On Tuesday, 13th January 2026, the U.S. African Command delivered a consignment of military equipment to Nigerian security agencies as part of ongoing efforts to strengthen security operations across the country. The Russian Federation has called for closer ties with the Federal Republic of Nigeria to enable both countries to crack down on the activities of unlawful and criminal elements. The Russian embassy in Nigeria made a call in a statement issued in Abuja yesterday concerning a report by the media office of Edo State Governor Monday Okpebholo on protests in the states. However, the chief press secretary to the governor, Patrick Egbojeli, on Tuesday alleged that a Nigerian citizen residing in Russia was financing riots with the intention of discrediting the Edo State government. There was an agreement between the Russian Federation and the Federal Republic of Nigeria on mutual legal assistance in criminal matters, which has been signed but did not enter into force following non-ratification by Nigeria. The Federal High Court sitting in Abuja is set to consider the deregistration of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, and 4 other potential political parties over alleged constitutional and electoral infractions following a suit instituted by the National Forum of Former Legislators, NFFL. The court fixed February 16th for the hearing of the constitutional suit, which seeks to compel enforcement of provisions governing the registration and continued operation of political parties in Nigeria. The NFFL is seeking what it described as a clear and authoritative judicial interpretation of the sections with a view to strengthening constitutional compliance with Nigeria's multi-party system. Honorable Raphael Igbokwe, National Coordinator of the NFFL, stated that the continued existence of political parties that consistently fall short of constitutional thresholds undermines democratic accountability and weakens the country's electoral process. The National Forum of Former Legislators reiterated its commitment to protecting democratic institutions and strengthening constitutional governance. Members of the Rivers State House of Assembly have insisted that the impeachment process against Governor Siminalayi Fubara and his deputy, Professor Ngozi Odu, will continue, describing it as the only solution to the political crisis in the state. The lawmakers made this known on Friday after the Assembly failed to reconvene on Thursday as scheduled. They dismissed criticism of the process, insisting that the Assembly was acting within the provisions of the law to address what they described as a political impasse in Rivers State. However, the impeachment move has faced political pushback, with 4 lawmakers between Monday and Wednesday formally withdrawing from the process and calling for an amicable resolution of the crisis. Despite expectation that the Assembly would reconvene on Thursday, there was no indication that plenary held, following speculations about internal divisions within the House. The lawmaker, however, said on Friday that the impeachment process remained on course. The Lagos State Task Force has intensified its cleanup and enforcement operations against urchins, popularly known as Omotaku, who loiter around major roads and traffic points, harassing and extorting motorists, especially when vehicles break down. It was disclosed that 281 suspected members of Omotaku have been arrested in the past week. Some of the apprehended members claimed ignorance of any criminal intent, insisting that their actions were merely a means of survival due to lack of other livelihood options. Task Force Chairman CSP Adetayo Akirili said the sustained operation is part of efforts to rid the state of criminal elements, restore order on major roads and highways across the metropolis. He further stated that the task force had taken the bull by the horns in curbing the activities of miscreants to create a safe, serene and secure Lagos. The Dangote refinery boosted its domestic petrol supply by 65% in December, increasing output from 19.4 million litres per day to over 32 million litres daily. Latest data from Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority (NMDPRA) stated that there was a jump in local supply by a huge margin in less than 1 month by the Dangote refinery, which followed the exit of the ex-Chief Chief Executive Officer of the NMDPRA, Farouk Ahmed. President of the Dangote Group, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, confirmed the increased supply but said that the facility has now been increased to an average of 50 million litres daily since President Bola Tinubu effected the leadership change at the agency. Ahmed had a running battle with the president of the Dangote Group over what the billionaire businessman termed as the unrestrained granting of import license by the former NMDPRA chief executive despite growing local capacity. According to the NMDPRA data released yesterday, the Dangote refinery domestic petrol supply increased from 19.47 million litres per day in November to 32.1 million litres per day in December, a jump of about 65% in just 1 month. Also, the national petrol sufficiency rose remarkably. Besides, the rise in Dangote's fuel output coincided with the improvement in national fuel stock level. The surge marked one of the strongest monthly consumption jumps recorded in 2025, reflecting higher transportation demands, festive season mobility, and improved product availability across the country. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has announced increased minimum capital requirements for all capital market operators (CMDS) to enhance market resilience and investor protection. SEC announced plans to step up enforcement this year following enactment of the Investment Securities Act 2025 as part of efforts to strengthen investors' confidence and market integrity. Its Director General, Dr. Emomotsimi Agama, disclosed this while outlining the Commission's regulatory priorities, noting that the new law has expanded its supervisory and enforcement powers. He further stated that the Commission would apply these powers firmly and impartially to address market abuse, insider dealings, fraudulent investment scheme, and other forms of misconduct in the capital markets. According to him, the SEC enforcement forms part of broader measures to strengthen market integrity, efficiency, resilience. He added that confidence in the capital market depends on effective supervision and the consistent application of rules. The kidnapped doctor in Auchi, Edo State, Dr. Tahir Abu, whose brother was killed by the kidnappers, has regained his freedom after his family paid a ransom of 50 million naira. Dr. Abu and his younger brother were abducted in January 2nd at their residence along City Pride Road, Igbira Camp, Auchi. The father of the victim said ransom was paid in 2 tranches, 20 million naira and 30 million naira, before his son was released on Wednesday morning at around 8 a.m. He added that the ransom was raised through combined efforts from the family, donations from non-governmental organizations, funds, and other well-wishers. The Edo State Police Command (PPRO) Eno Ikeldem confirmed the release of the victim on Thursday. Two Nigerians named Chukwudi Okafor and Samuel Eze, living in India, have been arrested for allegedly beating their friend Emeka Christian to death following a dispute over a woman in Pune, India. According to reports on Wednesday, the victim, a 40-year-old garment trader legally residing in India with a visa valid until 2027, had gone to the apartment of a Nigerian woman on Sunday night along with friends for a small party. The victim reportedly collapsed after being brutally assaulted. He was rushed to a hospital by Gift Uta, the vice president of the Nigerian Students' Union in Pune, but was declared dead while receiving treatment. The police confirmed the arrests of the two suspects and said efforts are ongoing to track down other possible compliances as investigators are ongoing and a manhunt has been launched for other suspects. The police command in Kebbi State arrested a 30-year-old man, Suleiman Mahmouda, for allegedly killing his wife, Umaima Maidawa, 25 years of age, in Mayawa village, Augie local government area of the state. The police public relations officer in the state, SP Bashar Usman, said the incident occurred on Monday at about 6:30 a.m. Usman said the suspect allegedly used the wooden handle of a hoe to strike his wife, resulting in her death. The suspect fled the area after the incident but was later traced and arrested following police probe and credible information received from members of the community. The Commissioner of Police in the state, Mr. Umai Muhammad Hadije, has directed Criminal Investigation Department for discreet investigation and prosecution. Usman urged the family of the public to promptly report incidents and continue to support law enforcement efforts aimed at maintaining peace and security across the states. It has been confirmed that diabetes kills 30 to 40,000 Nigerians yearly, occasioned by 300% increment in medication costs, unhealthy religious and cultural beliefs, and inadequate care facilities. Diabetes has become worse than a silent epidemic. Belonging to the top 10 killer disease in Nigeria and afflicting over 11.4 million citizens, the ailment, many say, is receiving little attention from the federal government, with attendance, policy gap, poor funding, and shrinking access to care. Internationally, the global agenda on diabetes, spearheaded by the World Health Organization (WHO), aims to reduce diabetes risk and improve treatments for the 589 million adults aged 20 to 79 who are diagnosed with diabetes. According to the International Diabetes Federation (IDF), persons who suffer from diabetes struggle to cope with several socioeconomic factors that exposes them to short and long-term consequences. These numbers of persons projected to reach 853 million by 2050, even as 75% of people with diabetes live in low and middle income countries. Diabetes contributes to over 3.4 million deaths annually, and more than half of the people living with diabetes did not take their medication in 2022. And now to sports. Nigeria will face opposition after being drawn alongside Zambia, Egypt, debutants Malawi in Group C of the 2026 Women's African Cup of Nations, scheduled to stage in Morocco. The final draw, which took place on Thursday, 15th January 2026, at the Prince Abdullah Sports Complex in Rabat, with the 16 qualified teams seeded into 4 pots based on FIFA Women's World Ranking of December 11, 2025. The 4 semi-finalists at the tournament will qualify directly for the 2027 Women's World Cup, with the losing quarter-finalists advancing to a playoff for 2 places at an Confederation qualifier. Stand by now for the weather reports and the exchange rates.
And now let's talk about weather forecast for Saturday, 17th January 2026. In Abuja, it will be sunny with 35 degrees Celsius. Lagos and Benin will experience partly sunny conditions. 32 degrees in Lagos, 36 degrees in Benin. In Port Harcourt, it will be partly cloudy, 32 degrees Celsius. In Kaduna, it will be sunny, thank God for that, at 34 degrees. Enugu will be partly sunny at 36 degrees, and Sokoto will be sunny, very hot indeed, at about 35 degrees Celsius. And elsewhere in Washington, the United States, it will be cloudy, 9 degrees Celsius. In London, mostly cloudy, 10 degrees. In Joburg, that's Johannesburg in South Africa, light rain, they will be experiencing that, and I think that is good for them. In Rome, Italy, mostly sunny at 15 degrees. And in Paris, France, cloudy, 11 degrees Celsius. And now for the exchange rates. 1 US dollar will exchange for 1,462 naira. 1 euro, 1,699 naira. 1 British pound, 1,961. 1 Canadian dollar, 1,052 naira. And 1 Australian dollar, 981. So back to you, Ehi.
Welcome back, and that's the news on the hour on Providence Television International. Thanks for staying tuned.